took home bronze. Men's gymnast Steven Nedorosik took home bronze in the pommel horse final. USA basketball cruise past Puerto Rico.
I feel like 5 or 6 will be good.
They finish a perfect 3-0 in the group stage. Early top seed in the quarterfinals. They'll face Brazil on Tuesday. Women's soccer beat Japan in the quarterfinals thanks to a Trinity Rodman goal in extra time. Next up for the Americans, they'll face either Canada or Germany in the semis on Tuesday. I'm Nick Cope.
This is the Parker & Sons Weather Center. For all your AC, plumbing, and electric needs, call Parker.
A tough day ahead of us. We'll see about 115 this afternoon. An excessive heat warning is in effect, so be careful out there. Clear skies all the way, and overnight we'll drop.
Hey, you guys doing 2 straight hours of Simone Biles, right?
Weather experts. I'm Corey McCloskey.
This report is sponsored by Superstar Car
Don't you
Wash.
dare!
Unbelievable savings at Superstar
Don't you dare
Car
talk
Wash.
about the greatest athlete of all time, Simone
for
Biles.
just $15 a month with our Clean Plan. Available at any of our 51 Arizona locations or online.
Also a great idea.
superstarcarwash.com for details. Terms and conditions apply.
Take the Points is sponsored by On Air Sports Marketing. Time for Arizona's only local sports gambling radio show. Take the Points. Powered by the Sportsbook at CAC Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona. Your home for uncensored sports betting opinions, analysis, and advice. The guys have you covered for all the games. Now, take the Points on Fox Sports 910 and the iHeartRadio app.
Welcome in another Saturday here live at the CAZ Sportsbook in Casino, Arizona. You are listening to Take the Points, the only local sports gambling radio show in Arizona. Jackson Groff, Benjamin Garcia joining you today. Ben, we had football on Thursday. We're officially 3 Saturdays away from college football. I know I mentioned it at the start of the show, but I am so excited. We need football back. And speaking of football, preseason football for the Cardinals next Saturday, a week from today.
Are you a preseason guy?
I am for my own team, for the Arizona Cardinals. Early on, I'm not going to lie, I want to see how the rookie class goes. I want to see Kyler Murray, the new additions they've made, and kind of see, the 53-man roster and how it's going to be built, and some of those guys that are on like the cusp of making it or potentially getting cut. Are you a preseason guy?
I didn't watch a single snap of the game on Thursday.
The Bears Texans game is a different story.
I will watch the first quarter of Cardinals preseason. Everything else, I'm not going to act like I care about who the 4th-string wide receiver is on the Denver Broncos. I'm not going to pay attention to it. And it's a horrible brand of football. If I wanted to watch that brand of football, I would just watch spring football. Yeah.
I agree. The Arizona Cardinals is one thing that I'll be in depth and curious to see on. And as the red, white, and scrimmage is going to be today, we'll talk about, our takeaways from week 2 and what we expect from the scrimmage today, scrimmage, air quotes, and then what we want to see from this team in preseason, some position battles and all that stuff like that. But we talk Arizona Cardinals, and this morning, unfortunately, some terrible news in terms of B.J. Ojulari, torn ACL out for the season. If you remember who B.J. Ojulari is, second rounder, 22-year-old outside linebacker out of LSU, 41st overall pick. And, Ben, this is a guy that early on didn't get a bunch of reps, but towards the end of the season, you could see that things were starting to click for B.J. Ojulari and a lot of high expectations for him in year 2.
In a outside linebacker, pass rusher, edge rushing room that I've been in attendance for over the past week at camp. And what I'll just say is like it was already a very bare group to begin with. And now you lose B.J. Ojulari, who I wasn't necessarily bullish on him coming in and fixing all the pass rushing issues. But this is a huge blow. This is a guy that we expected to take a huge leap. Now, I wasn't in fantasy land. A lot of Cardinals fans were, he could have 12 sacks. Well, let's just hope he gets 8 of them. Let's just hope he doubles his sack total from last year. And now you have Zaven Collins and Dennis Gardeck, who are now the starting outside linebackers for this team. I love Dennis Gardeck as like my 2nd string, 3rd string guy. And Zaven Collins, it's just not there. He's a bust. He's not a good player in terms of rushing the passer. That's not what he can do. And so this B.J. Ojulari thing is huge. And now it opens up the question of, in a weird sense, and you mentioned this to me yesterday, is this what's finally going to make Monty Austinfort make a move?
Yeah, we haven't seen Monty Austinfort make a whole lot of moves when guys get injured. You saw a bunch of injuries last year in the defensive line, and they kind of just went next up mentality. But if you're a team, You've improved on the offensive side of the ball. You've addressed the defensive line interior needs in the offseason. And this is a team, Ben, and Arizona Cardinals still got a lot of cap room. $35 million in cap room. You wonder if that's savings during the season, if more guys get hurt to replace them, or if they're maybe waiting for another season to go and get that free agent move. But you look at a depleted pass rush group, and we talked a couple weeks ago on some of the areas of concern for this Arizona Cardinals team being the pass rush. You lose your all-star in B.J. Ojulari, that room becomes slimmer and slimmer. And you're right. We've seen 3 or 4 years of Dennis Gardeck and Zaven Collins. I think we're all kind of done with that. We want to see what's next. So I ask you, what if you're Monty Ossenfort, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, and I've seen a bunch of tweets about some possible scenarios, but what are some realistic moves the Arizona Cardinals can make in replacing B.J. Ojulari?
Well, you mentioned and you said realistic, which I think is really hard for fans to grasp at times. This is a brutal injury, and it's a huge issue, but let's not make a big problem even worse. A lot of Cardinals fans, a lot of people out there, media are speculating, what about Matthew Judon? He wants a new contract. Matthew Judon is sitting out. Matthew Judon is coming off of what I would call the Chandler Jones year. If people remember correctly, the second to last year with the Arizona Cardinals in Chandler Jones, tore his bicep, or it was his tricep, something on his arm, tore his bicep, and then missed the rest of the season. Then the next season he comes back, was amazing for that first week. I got in a Twitter spat with the guy earlier today.
Against Taylor Lewan and the Titans. He had like 5 sacks.
He had 5 sacks. And someone said to me, why would you not want a Chandler Jones in his last year with his Cardinals? He had 10.5 sacks. Because 5.5 of those sacks came in the final 15 games of the season. He was irrelevant. He wasn't good. And so now you are risking that same issue, except the Cardinals got out of it because they didn't pay Chandler Jones like he wanted to be paid. So now Matthew Judon comes in the equation. That's a guy that wants to get paid, who was elite, but probably knows he's turning the page on the back nine of his career. That's why he wants a deal. He's going to be 32 before the season starts. He was injured last year, and he only had 4 sacks last year. That's an issue. I don't think the Cardinals need to panic and make a bad situation even worse. A guy that I think makes a lot of sense, and I got to give the credit to Kyle Odegaard, who pointed this out this morning, Hassan Reddick. That's a guy who had been here before. You had mentioned to me that I didn't even think of, was in the Nick Rawless, Jonathan Gannon system on defense in Philly, was awesome there. No, I don't think he's a supreme pass rusher, and I think he wants $28 million a year. The Cardinals are expected to have $100 million in cap space next season, meaning following this season they'll have it. That makes a lot of sense. He's 28 years old. You're getting him in some of the prime of his career. You're probably going to overpay him, but this is a team that could use him this year and use him next year potentially. I trust Monty Ossenfort's idea and ability to come up with a contract, but that is a guy that makes a lot of sense to me if it's not significant draft capital. You have anyone you've thought of?
Yeah, I think Hassan Reddick's got to be on top of the list. When you look at the free agency market right now, therethere's not a lot of options, a lot of older guys. So regardless where you go as an organization for the Arizona Cardinals, it's going to be the 29, 30, 31, 32-year-old type of guys. The pass rush department over the offseason and free agency wasn't very it was very slim. Not a lot of pickings for it. I agree with you. I think Hassan Reddick's got to be the guy. If you remember, traded from the Eagles to the Jets in the offseason for a 2026 third-round conditional pick. And I think the Jets aren't one of those teams. Yes, we traded for him. We got a third-round pick. We cost a third-round pick for that. But I think they're one of those organizations. If they're dealing with Hassan Reddick holding out, I don't think they mind. You know what? We wasted a third-round pick. Maybe we can get a third-round pick from another team. And the Arizona Cardinals, I think it's worth it. You look at this guy in the last 7-8 years he's played in the NFL. Crazy, he's about to be 29 years old. He's consistently played in 16, 17 games. Availability has been a thing Hassan Reddick's done. And on top of that, he's averaged double-digit sacks in his last 4 seasons, including in 2020 when he was in Arizona Cardinals, 12.5 sacks. I think it's a perfect fit. I think you can get this guy for third, fourth round pick. The issue with him, though, is him coming in. He's probably going to want a contract. You wonder with the relationship with Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawless, they can kind of settle that down, and maybe the contract becomes at the end of the season, or if he proves to be a viable, edge rusher, he can earn a contract. I think he's probably got to be the number one situation, number one guy you go and get. It sucks that B.J. Ojulari's injury forced this, but it could be, I guess, a positive, a pro that you needed to address this need, and it happens to be the perfect scenario with Hassan Reddick wanting to hold out with the Jets.
Yeah, let me just back you up there because, you say it could be a positive that someone had an injury and people can jump on all over that and, oh, this guy's wishing for injury. No, you're being a fanboy. What you mean is this pass rushing room that I've seen with my own two eyes, and I've talked with other people on the sidelines, it doesn't look good. It wasn't good before, even with B.J. Ojulari was there. This could force Monty Ossenfort to go out of his comfort zone to go get a guy he wants, which could be a net positive at the end of the day. Because honestly, I'd rather have Hassan Reddick over a healthy B.J. Ojulari, who was better last year towards the end of the season. But again, I wasn't bullish that he was going to have a 9.5 sack year. I thought that was fantasy land. But not to mention as well, Monty Ossenfort has a clear guy he wants. We saw it with Bilal Nichols. We saw it with Mac Wilson. We saw it with everyone that he picked up. Sean Murphy-Bunting. They have to be healthy, and they got to play a lot of games. Now, listen, when in free agency, people were asking for the craziest of go get Chris Jones. Like, guys, the Cardinals aren't that close to winning a Super Bowl. Now, they're close to competing for a playoff spot this year, but they're not winning a Super Bowl or making a conference championship game this year. Let's not go get Matthew Judon or a Chris Jones and waste all of our money for something that's going to happen this year that isn't going to result in a bunch of playoff wins. Hassan Reddick fits the mold. He's never missed a game, which I didn't even realize until I looked at his stats. He's never missed a game. And this is a guy that's over the last couple of seasons, 12.5 sacks, 11 sacks, 16 sacks, 11 sacks. Can he get 10? Which is a monstrous thing for this Cardinals pass rush. Like, people don't understand. I've seen the secondary group. I'm actually a lot higher on them now after just watching them. I think the secondary is not going to be elite, but it's going to be good, like above average. It's going to quickly turn into garbage if the pass rush isn't there, because you could add the whole Legion of Boom back there. If they didn't have Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett rushing the passer in their prime, it was not going to work out. So that's the issue with the Cardinals is now that the pass rush is even worse potentially, that could make the rest of the defense look just horrible. And that's an issue that the Cardinals are facing right now.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say on this, too, for people out there saying, oh, they drafted Darius Robinson in the back of the first round. Why not put him outside? I think the one thing that Monty Ossenfort and JG do best is they grab players in certain situations, in certain positions that they're great at, and they don't move them. What do we see with Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim? It was always, Zaven Collins, you're accelerating at the outside position, at the outside linebacker's position. We're going to try you in the inside linebacker for 2 to 3 years and see how you do. It didn't work. Isaiah Simmons, the same situation. We've seen you rush the passer at Clemson. We're going to try you at safety. We're going to try you at all different situations and positions and not really solidify one position. You've been there at camp. In our next segment, we'll talk about Arizona Cardinals camp and what you've seen there. The clips I've seen from Darius Robinson, interior on the defensive line, hand in the dart, that's where he's meant to be, is rush the passer and wreak havoc in pressuring the run and stopping the run. And he's blown away some of those interior defensive linemen, which I've been impressed by. You got to keep him here with Bilal Nichols, Justin Jones. That defensive line room looks a lot deeper with Darius Robinson. I just don't want fans to be like, oh, let's just move him outside out of a position that's not natural to him and put him in the edge rusher position, which he can play. You could have packages for him, but that can't be his primary position.
It's a really good point. You don't want to move people out of positions that they're comfortable with playing unless you absolutely have to. And right now, they don't absolutely have to. And also, it's a rookie. Let's not move players around. Let's figure that out. And like Darius Robinson, we'll get to it in just a second, but just briefly, he's been good at camp. Now, he has not been elite. He's been good. And that's all you can ask for with a rookie. And even at some points, better than some rookies on the team that we thought were going to be good as well, like a Trey Benson who hasn't looked amazing yet. Like, those are the type of things that I would agree with. It's don't just move people just to move people.
We're out here at the CAZ Sportsbook and Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona. Listen to Take the Points. We're coming up next. We're going to talk Arizona Cardinals training camp. Our very own Benjamin Garcia was there throughout the week. What are our biggest takeaways? What do we want to see today in the red-white scrimmage, as well as the next preseason game against the Saints?
But did you know we are great at feeding a large group too? Our full catering menu has a ton of variety, so everyone will find something they love. And the best part? We don't charge per head. Just tell us how many people you need to feed, and we'll handle the rest. Check out our catering menu at Venezias.com. That's Venezias.com. Venezias, a family and catering tradition.
This is the famous footwear that makes us actually want to go back to school. With the newest styles from all your favorite brands like Nike, Adidas, Crocs, Converse, New Balance, Birkenstock, and more. You'll find everything kids want, all at prices parents can appreciate. Because you don't have to overspend to make it famous. Famous Footwear even has fit experts in store to make sure you get the right size every time. So, for the perfect fit, make it famous. Plus, right now, buy one, get one half off when you shop your local Famous Footwear or famous.com. Some exclusions apply.
My name is Mary Grace. I lost my mom to Alzheimer's in 2017, and 2 months after losing her, my dad was diagnosed. The earlier the diagnosis you have, the more time you have with your loved one. With my dad, now that I know what's coming, I'm able to create memories not only for him, but for myself, though. When he can't remember, I'll remember for him.
For more information, contact us at alz.org or through the 24/7 helpline at 800-272-3900. Sponsored by the Alzheimer's Association.
Live.
Back to Take the Points, powered by the Sportsbook at CAC Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona, exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Welcome back. Another Saturday here at the CAZ Sportsbook and Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona. They've got a bunch of screens, every sport possible you want to put on. Badminton, synchronized swimming. We've got baseball on, UFC starting up today. They've got it all here at the CAZ Sportsbook and Sports Bar.
Are you a badminton guy?
You know what? No.
Badminton's fun.
You've been watching the Olympics, huh?
Well, I played it before too.
Oh, it's a fun sport to play.
Both.
To watch?
Oh, yeah. Have you seen some of these guys?
Who's your favorite? Your favorite team or guy?
Oh, I don't know. Whoever it is. The U.S. have a guy in there? I'm not paying that close attention. I'm not going to act like I care about the Olympics now, but I'm just saying these people are crazy.
Yeah, crazy athletic. I was watching table tennis earlier, and I saw, the video of Anthony Edwards and them talking about, he could score a point against, the women's table tennis and their hand-eye coordination. I saw a photo of this guy and how locked in he was on that ping pong ball. It's remarkable.
I don't even know how you have that kind of reaction time. They're insane. I don't know. Maybe it's something I'm missing.
The amount of practice that they do. Speaking of practice, the Arizona Cardinals red-white scrimmage starts today at 1:15 to 3:15. Before the event, Cardinals owner Michael Bidwell and head coach Jonathan Gannon will address the crowd as well. If you want to go, parking will be located on the east side and west side of the stadium and open up at 12:15. But Ben, you've been out at camp this whole week, training camp for the Arizona Cardinals. Not a lot of buzz, not a lot of outside noise until this morning with BJ Ojolari news. Talk to me of some of your takeaways that you've seen from camp and then what you expect today in the red-white scrimmage.
Yeah, there's a few things with the Cardinals training camp that I've observed. The offensive line seems like it hasn't really taken a step forward yet, but it's so hard because the defensive and offensive line, they're going always at about 80% speed. But the biggest thing that I've seen behind the offensive line is not Kyler. Kyler looks really good. And also, Kyler Murray, he does not look small. Like, yeah, he's a little short, but he doesn't look small. Like, he looks like Russell Wilson out there. And with, the Bryce Young looks small. Like, he looks tiny. Kyler has put some real mass on to the point where, we talked about it earlier on the week on the drive with Jody Ayler, where it was did he put too much mass on? Is that going to affect him with soft tissue injuries and stuff? But backing up Kyler, I promise you, I guess I can't promise you anything, but I believe, I'd put money on it. Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder do not make this team. They're terrible. Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder, it's bad.
You think they go out there and
they're gonna have to go get someone?
What they saw from Thursday with Case Keenum and with David Mills? You think that Davis Mills? You think they go out and make a trade for? They're gonna have to,
which is a backup quarterback for every other team in the NFL doesn't really matter. Let's just be honest. Kyler Murray's probably gonna miss 2 games. He's probably gonna miss 2 to 3 games every single year, whether it's a soft tissue injury, whatever it is. He does get a little banged up, but if you miss 2 to 3 games a year, it's not awful if you have the right backup quarterback in place.
Especially with the middle of their schedule when they play the Panthers, they play the Patriots. There's a little middle of their schedule
Exactly.
where you hope that after the first 5 weeks, in which they got one of the toughest 5 weeks in the schedule, but also to your point about Kyler Murray adding more mass, I do like that from a standpoint where you hope he doesn't get injured as much. And with this offense and what Drew Petzing wants to do there with running the football, you do hope and ask, and there was interviews him talking about, a couple years ago you were averaging around 40, 50 yards per game rushing. That's decreased. What are your thoughts about that? And he said, look, I want to be able to run the football and use my legs, but if it's not mandatory and if it's not necessary, he doesn't mind it, which for him, longevity-wise in his career, I think that's a good sign and what Drew Petzing wants to do with him and his offense.
And I can't act like I pointed this out myself. I had Jody Ayler from the show that I'm on in the morning. He had kind of mentioned it when he went to Cardinals camp on Tuesday because I went 3 separate times this week, and he was like, Desmond Ritter's terrible, and I was like, yeah, it doesn't shock me. And he even had a tweet that blew up, that basically saying, I'm pounding the Falcons over because of seeing Desmond Ridder play with the Cardinals this year. That's how bad he was. It's not just Desmond Ridder. I was watching Clayton Tune yesterday. He's awful. Clayton Tune is awful. He's not a good backup quarterback. If Clayton Tune has to step in for any longer than a 1-game period, the Cardinals might be toast. Like, if they lose 1 game because one of those guys is in, it happens. But, it's bad. They're not accurate. Desmond Ridder at one point was throwing balls into the dirt on one-on-ones. There was no pass rush. Oof. It was bad at times. Oof. Clayton Tune. Greg Dortch made Clayton Tune look really good yesterday. Really, really good yesterday. One-handed snags, and people are oohing and awing, and I'm like, it's because Clayton Tune is missing guys. And this is like 10-yard out routes. This is nothing insane. It wasn't deep balls. So that was my first takeaway. Secondly, and we had mentioned this before, the running back room is going to be a lot better, but maybe don't spend such a high fantasy pick on Trey Benson. I think this is still, if you had asked me right after the draft, I would have said, James Conner is going to have a bulk of the carries for 9-10 games. Trey Benson is going to start splitting that in half at the 11-12 game mark. Yeah, I don't think so. Trey Benson, he doesn't look bad. That's not. I have a ton of footage of watching Trey Benson because a lot of the running back group is right next to the media. You could touch them; they're so close to you, and at times their equipment hits you. That's how close they are. Trey Benson looks a little lost right now. It seems like the game is just a little too. I wouldn't be shocked if Trey Benson's the 3rd string running back.
Really?
He hasn't looked amazing yet.
You know what's crazy? You say that is, I was reading articles. I wasn't at camp this week, but trying to watch press conferences, watch interviews, watch your stuff, and just kind of all over the valley. And one of my biggest takeaways is the emergence. I guess you could say emergence. He got a lot of reps last year of Amari DiMercato.
Yeah.
Which is a guy that if he does play in that second role, great pass blocker, tough runner inside, a guy that played really well in that TCU season when they made the national championship game, 58 carries, 14 games played last year, 284 yards. That's another guy I don't mind getting reps as the second string running back. Mm-hmm. And then a Michael Carter comes in who's able to catch the ball out of the backfield, kind of that Chase Edmonds feel that we do miss out of the backfield. But that's another guy to take away from me, Amari DiMercato, that stepped up. And to your point, it's not a bad thing if Trey Benson maybe sits back and takes time to develop. Look, an NFL playbook is one of the hardest things to learn, especially at the running back position, offense in general, because the amount of play calls, for him as a running back to be able to pick up blitzes, the running scheme, which they pride their most in for the Arizona Cardinals. I don't mind it, but it is very interesting to see a guy like DiMercato come in and step in. What have you seen from him and Michael Carter kind of battling, I guess, for that second running back spot?
Well, I told you a couple weeks ago, I don't think Amari DiMercato is going to make this team. I don't know if Michael Carter is going to make this team. Oof. Amari DiMercato he's younger, a little bit bigger. Man, Michael Carter's really small. He's really small. I can't tell you how many times I'm just walking to the side and I'm like, man, these are all massive human beings. They are all massive human beings. And then with Michael Carter, I'm like, oh, that guy, that guy is tidy. Amari DiMercato isn't necessarily there, and he's looked really good in some instances, and you're not going to cut Trey Benson, and DJ Dallas might be fielding kicks. So it's a loaded running back room where, it's a toss-up now between Amari DiMercato and Michael Carter, and honestly, I think I would lean DiMercato.
So let me ask you, too, you talked about it in our last segment about the cornerback room and expectations coming in. It's a young group. again, you have what I think the Arizona Cardinals do well is in areas where they're young, they always get a veteran guy to kind of lead that room and say, you know what, we want you to be the number one, but kind of teach our younger guys, and hopefully they'll come in and replace you and kind of boost up that cornerback room. They did it for the defensive line, getting Nichols and Jones alongside Darius Robinson. It's the same thing with Sean Murphy-Bunting in a room right now that looks really young, but I've heard a lot of good things about Max Melton. I've heard a lot of good things about Garrett Williams. And Starling Thomas the fifth, another guy that you said, hey, he might not make the roster. Another guy that got reps last year, I've heard has made an appearance in camp too. What have you seen from the quarterback?
Yeah, so Starling Thomas got a couple of times yesterday, but it was all because Michael Wilson or Greg Dortch made really good catches. Here's why it's easier to evaluate the cornerback room. They're going up against a pretty good wide receiver room. Garrett Williams, Max Melton, and Sean Murphy-Bunting look like real deal NFL dudes. None of them are Patrick Peterson. None of them are Darrelle Revis. But can they all be, I don't know, the later stages of Antonio Cromartie where he was on this Cardinals team and he was just a good corner? I don't think it's out of the question. Starling Thomas has looked decent. Not as good as the other three guys I'd mentioned. Look, Garrett Williams looks really good. Garrett Williams looks really good. And just kind of flipping it over just a second, because I've already kind of talked about the cornerback room, which does look like is going to be at minimum average, which is such a big increase because it was garbage last year. It was so bad. Here's what I'll say. Just kind of flipping it because I've seen it against this very talented wide receiver room. Marvin Harrison Jr., there's two guys. Max Melton really matches up well with Marvin Harrison Jr., and we heard him talk about it. In a press conference with Marvin Harrison Jr., where had basically talked about how much Max Melton doesn't fear anyone. He has that confidence to want to be like that elite shutdown corner. He just is a corner, like in the most stereotypical way. This dude is just a dude, and he's a corner who can do it. And then as well as not just Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think's been good but not elite, which he's a rookie, give it time. Greg Dortch's. I've never bought into the Greg Dortch thing. I always just thought he was a very good 4 wide receiver. I don't know what they're going to do. Greg Dortch has looked so good. Good.
Let's put a pause on this conversation. Let's continue on the other side because I got some thoughts about Greg Dortch. That's coming.
They're winning. That's because they offer proven quality at lower than low prices. In fact, we guarantee that you and your family will love how Kroger brand products taste, or you get your money back. So next time you're shopping for the family, look for delicious Kroger brand products, because they'll make you all feel like you're winning. Shop now, in-store, or online. Fries, fresh for everyone.
This could be the craziest podcast pairing ever. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and Super Bowl champ Marshawn Beast Mode Lynch are politicking.
What does politicking even mean? There's bridging gaps with no politics.
Joined by their friend and agent Doug Hendrickson, it's going to be a wild ride.
We can change the world podcast by podcast.
Listen to Politicking with Gavin Newsom, Marshawn Lynch, and Doug Hendrickson on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search Politicking and start listening.
Back to Take the Points, powered by the Sportsbook at CAC Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona, exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Welcome back. Take the Points, Fox Sports 910. And you know, one of the great things that we love as radio hosts is when news breaks during a radio show, specifically in the Valley. And we've got some breaking news. According to Adam Schefter, Arizona Cardinals former first-round pick Zaven Collins is signing a 2-year, $14 million extension that includes $11.25 million guaranteed as he signs. With this 2-year extension, the linebacker is now set and throughout the 2026 season. Ben, I tossed it to you, your first takeaway when you saw this news.
Well, here I am giving you my scouting report on the Cardinals, whether it was the pass rush, all this stuff. And now I'm questioning everything I just said, because Zaven Collins has not looked dominant. He hasn't looked great, which, if you're just being fair, it's not dominant money. They just gave him a $14 million over 2 more years. But here's the thing. Here's what kind of concerns me about this. We had Johnny Venerable on the show yesterday, and Johnny had mentioned something that really perked up my ears. Generally, when Jody is doing these interviews, I'm doing other things for the show on the side, but I'm listening, and there's certain things that will perk my ears up. And Johnny had mentioned that Jonathan Gannon and Zaven Collins are super close. Like, they hang out outside of work close. And I'm like, is this an extension to your buddy? Because I've watched Zaven Collins. I've watched him over the past couple of years. So have you. I've watched him at training camp. There's nothing there that I've said, oh, he looks different. Oh, he looks dominant. Oh, he looks like even a third pass rusher. I don't see it with Zaven Collins. I've never seen it. So I almost wonder if this is a relationship contract signing because of how close Jonathan Gannon and Zaven Collins are. And because here's the thing. Say that Zaven Collins, I'm completely wrong. I don't know anything about football. He has a 15 sack year. He's just going to hold out next year. You think he's going to play for $7 million next year after having 15 sacks? No. They declined his option, which means they weren't afraid to lose him, which makes me believe that they sided with me. They don't really see it with Zaven Collins. This should be his last year. But instead, they work out a contract extension. It is all sorts of confusing. There's no way that this got done directly after the B.J. Ojulari injury. This was obviously something that has been in the works for a little bit now. So it really makes me wonder, is this just a relationship signing? Like, do they just really like the guy? Because I'm sure he's a great guy, and I've never seen anyone talk bad about Zaven Collins. But I just don't get it. Me saying that to you, that they're incredibly close, what does that make you think?
It's interesting. It's really interesting. I think it's kind of, I don't want to say weird, but we've seen teams where coaches and players hang outside of camp. Like, for example, Kyle Shanahan being at Christian McCaffrey's camp, him kind of being younger, them being older veterans, them hanging outside of camp and being friends and stuff like that, which is fine. But you wonder, with the pressures of JG and Zaven's relationship, that bearing on Monty and Monty signing the contract because it's a relationship contract. That's what puzzles me, because Monty doesn't seem like a guy that's all about buddy-buddy relationships.
Not at all.
He seems like a guy that just wants to win and do his best for the organization, the Arizona Cardinals. This move is puzzling to me. I think this is a move where Zaven Collins wasn't holding out during camp. There wasn't pressure to get this deal done. He was going to play the season regardless. I would, as a person, a football fan and an analyst, I'd rather want to see this during the season where he's proven in year 2 in the system and in the new outside linebacker role that he's comfortable, a position that he played in college and he's excelling at, then go in and sign that contract extension during the season. Could have been more, to your point about him getting 15 sacks and wanting more money, if he ends up having 7, 8, 10 sacks at the halfway mark or maybe even the 3/4 of the season mark, sure, that could be a thing, but at least he's proven. It's interesting now because you signed Zaven Collins right after this B.J. Ojulari timing, and I agree with you. I don't think the timing of him getting injured and him getting signed immediately after, I just don't think that was the case. But now it puts more pressure on Zaven Collins. You're our guy now. You're the number one guy for the edge rusher. You're the number one guy that's making the most money now out of all the guys in the pass rushing field. You've got to go out and perform now. We can't wait a third year for you. Oh, it's only his second year in the position. Oh, it's his third year. Because there's been pass rushers in this league that have performed extremely better in their second year. And if you can't do that, if you can't get above 3.5 sacks like you did last year, playing 17 games, 27 solo tackles, 41 total tackles, it's going to be a concern when a room is already depleted and you're spending money to Zaven Collins. I just don't. That's a move where I'm like, Monty, I don't know about this one. There's been a bunch of moves where I've been a fan of, or moves that maybe I wasn't a fan of and I saw happen that, they outperformed what I expected. But a Zaven Collins, where it's a contract year, you're going to sign into an extension before what we've seen. And with you saying that he's not been doing well in camp, it's definitely a puzzling move.
I wouldn't say he's doing awful in camp, but he hasn't done anything for me to be like, he hasn't stuck out like a sore thumb and me be like, oh, that guy's terrible. For me, because I watch Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder. They're terrible. Zaven Collins, I'm like, oh, he's just a guy. He's a good depth piece to have as your fourth string pass rusher. But you could get a fourth string pass rusher for less than they gave him. He got $11 million guaranteed at signing. Now, he might not reach that whole $14 million potential, but this Zaven Collins thing is really puzzling to me. This guy has 5.5 sacks his entire Cardinal career. That is 3 years. And he's only missed one game. 17 games played. I don't get it. It's really puzzling for me to look at this and say, this is the guy who is going to carry us next year. That feels really, really like hanging on, grasping at straws, praying that this guy could figure it out. I don't get it. There has to be another move up Monty Austin-Fort's sleeve. Because if you walk into the season with Zaven Collins as your number one pass rusher, you are in a boatload of trouble.
I think the positives for Zaven Collins, he's an extremely team-friendly guy. Obviously, the coaches and Gannon and Nick Rallis, the relationship with him, beloved in the locker room, and a leader, a guy that's been around the program. This is about to be his fourth year for the Arizona Cardinals. One of those founding stones, can be a leader on that defense. So that's a good thing, the off-the-field stuff, and, can be a vocal leader on that defense. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's a captain. But you're right. There's a lot of pressure on him, and especially after this extension signing. Curious to see what he does today in the red-white scrimmage, and curious to see. I want to see Zaven Collins get a lot of reps in preseason. I really do.
We talked about that preseason notion, and let's just kind of go after it. Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray, Zaven Collins. I just ask you, do you think these guys need to play in the preseason?
A little bit, yes. I do.
What does a little bit look like?
I think a quarter. I think the
quarter.
I think
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's 3 series.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think the chemistry you've got a lot of new pieces with Zay Jones, a lot of new pieces on the offensive line, which not a lot of people are talking about. You got a guy in Paris Johnson Jr. moving on the left side. You've got new offensive, a guard situation going on with Isaiah Adams, Evan Brown, and John Gaines. You've got a new right tackle with Jonah Williams. I just want to see the flow of this first-string offense, the little things, the getting the series, getting out, the play calling and stuff like that. I do. I think a quarter. I don't think you have to go overboard. I don't want to see Kyler Murray running for his life in preseason. That's not what I'm talking about. But I think you need to see the deep throws. You need to see some intermediate routes with this wide receiver core and kind of seeing, what we're expecting, because, folks, they're playing Buffalo week 1. They're playing the Rams week 2. It's not like they're walking into an easy schedule. I just want to see a little bit, a quarter. Now, does that mean a quarter off rip? I don't know. I think a quarter of play in terms of the 3 games of preseason is what I want to see.
Here's what I'll say. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is playing in the preseason, Kyler Murray better be playing as well.
Yep.
There's no reason for Marvin Harrison Jr. to get chemistry with Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder, who I don't even think are going to make this roster. I mean, Clayton Tune, I don't know how many times I have to say it. Both those guys are they're missing easy throws. And we saw Clayton Tune last year against the Browns. Granted, the number 1 ranked defense, I think he had like 50 passing yards. Like, he was abysmal. Like, it was Max Hall, John Skelton bad at times. So this, if Marvin Harrison is playing, Kyler's got to play. Don't go 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Put everyone in or take everyone out.
Yeah.
And I don't even care if Marvin Harrison Jr. has a reception. Just get live reps. And also, maybe do your own research.
Break.
I don't want Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. going up against the third stringers of the Dallas Cowboys. It's not helping anyone. Match whatever the other team is doing. I don't want to see anyone playing in the final preseason game. But the first one, and I guess the second one as well, they do need to get some snaps under them. Just someone's got to get hit. Everyone besides Kyler. I had seen someone mention Kyler Murray needs to take a hit. No, I'm good. I'm good on that. I'll wait for the regular season. Here's the issue. If one of those guys gets hurt in the preseason, it goes right after Jonathan Gannon. What are you doing? It's 2020 vision after we had already seen everything. What are you doing? Why are you playing him? If he gets hurt in the regular season, what are you going to do? It's the regular season. Everyone's got to play. So it just needs to be everyone in or everyone out, not this flip-floppy thing.
Saturday, a week from today, preseason game number 1. The Saints come into town. I'm looking forward to that. Last nugget I'll say, I know we got to go to break. I got to watch out for undrafted free agent, wide receiver, Xavier Weaver. That's all I got to say. Say what you want to do with that information.
Love that guy.
I mean, this dude, I think this dude can make the roster with the wide receiver core that looks great at the top. You look at the depth, not a lot around the Chris Moores of the world, the Andre Bocelli's. I think Xavier Weaver could definitely slip in there.
Just really quickly, I know we got to go to break. I'll make it very brief. I was talking with a few guys on the sidelines. Weaver was the guy that when the Cardinals signed him, I was like, how did this guy fall through the cracks? I think he's a practice squad guy. I don't know how he has looked fine, but man, he's 170, and I got to be honest with you, he does look small. Xavier Weaver, some guys just have it to play football, and I think he just has it. It's hard, though. Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson, Marvin Harris. It is such a loaded room where, we were talking about it on the sidelines yesterday with a couple of different people, and we all agreed, man, the guy's got some twitch to him, but I don't know how he's going to do it.
I don't think practice squad's a bad thing. I think practice squad, when people say, why, them moving a practice squad is a bad move for him, it just means they want to stick in the program. Whenever they want, they'll call him up to the 53-man roster, but they see something in Xavier Weaver long-term that they want to hold on to and develop with the program, develop in the system, learn the playbook. I think Xavier Weaver is definitely a name to look out for and a guy I'm looking forward to watching in preseason. Coming up, we're going to talk NFL top 100 list because, man, this is off. Up next.
Take the Points, powered by the Sport Clerk at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona, continues next on Fox Sports 910 and the free iHeartRadio app.
Win your way to our 2024 iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One. September 20th and 21st. T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas, streaming live only on Hulu.
Starting Monday, listen for your chance to be there.
Sponsored by Redbird Farms Chicken. Turn up the flavor with Redbird Farms Chicken. Available at your local grocer. Our chicken is juicy, tender, and delicious. Just like the iHeartRadio Music Festival, our chicken hits all the right notes and brings people together. Redbird Farms Chicken. What real chicken tastes like.
Crest Insurance is about more than providing coverage. It's about creating your safety net. We offer access to a national network of trusted carriers. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, we're here to help with a personal touch that's close to home. With Crest, you're not only protecting what matters most, but also helping to build stronger, more resilient communities. Crest Insurance. Coverage you can trust. Service you can count on.
Hey sports fans, celebrate every big game with El Bandito Yankee, an ultra-premium tequila made from 100% Blue Weber agave in the highlands of Jalisco. Their certified additive-free Blanco and Reposado feature a unique oxygenation process for a rich smoothness without that tequila burn. That's why they've won platinum and gold medals and are now listed as one of the world's top tequilas by Rolling Stone. Head over to your local store, favorite bar, or restaurant and enjoy. Go to elbanditoyankee.com and break out the Bandito with the official tequila of game day.
Attention drivers, drive smart, Arizona. All City Towing, Arizona's largest towing storage services contractor, reminds you to follow the move over law. When you see emergency vehicles, move over and slow down. Keep our roads safe for all. Brought to you by All City Towing.
Arizona's headquarters for Toyotas is Wright Toyota. Hey, rock for my friends at Wright Toyota in Scottsdale. You will always find the right deal at Wright Toyota. Wright Toyota has been driving Arizona's home for years with their amazing service, pricing, and great selections. I encourage you to discover the difference at Wright Toyota. Make the right choice, Wright Toyota, just off the 101 on Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard, and always online at wrighttoyota.com. The right price, the right selection. Check out wrighttoyota.com.
Get ready for double the fun on the 101. Introducing the Salt River Rewards Program at Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort, the Valley's newest and best. With multiple tiers and endless benefits, we've got something for everyone. Don't miss out on the excitement. Salt River Rewards, the Valley's premier player rewards program, now at Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort. 2 properties, 1 amazing club, offering limitless fun on the 101. Discover the best in the Valley at saltriverrewards.com.
Need an electric charger installed or a TV mounted? Contact AC Electrical Family at aceelectricalfamily.com or call 602-577-1392. That's aceelectricalfamily.com to book your free quote now. AC Electrical Family. Power up with the best.
There's something that binds us all. The constant hunger to improve. The obsession with every detail. And the reward of a custom fitting, taking your game to a whole new level. We're all bound by 2 words said by golfers worldwide. Schedule your fitting at Vans Golf Shops. Find your local store at worldwidegolf.com. Get there.
Are you sick of fad diets or tired of overpaying for name brand weight loss meds? Semaglutide and tirzepatide, now available at Metier Clinical Services. These injectables are revolutionizing weight loss, starting at just $275 per month. Transform your health today, whether in Arcadia or online at metierpharmacy.com. Our expert team supports you every step of the way. Ready to take control? Contact Metier Clinical Services at 602-835-2675. Visit metierclinicalservices.com. Consult your healthcare provider before starting any weight loss program.
A small commitment at least 1 day a week helps reduce ground level ozone pollution and helps us all breathe easier. Bike instead of driving. Fuel after dark. Commit to 1 day and help keep ozone away. Visit maricopa.gov/AQ to learn how you can help.
iHeartRadio is the exclusive audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics. Listen to what's happening right now at the Olympics on 2 Guys, 5 Rings, the essential iHeart podcast for the Summer Games.
Have you ever carried a torch for someone?
It's all about the athletes.
Simone Biles is about to be taken on the ride of her life astrologically.
And the culture.
I'm Matt Rogers. And I'm Bowen Yang. We're the 2 Guys.
Listen to 2 Guys, 5 Rings on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app, search 2 Guys, 5 Rings, and start listening.
My name is Mary Grace. There are a few misconceptions about Alzheimer's. It's not just memory loss. It's the loss of mobility, the risk of falling.
For more information, contact the Alzheimer's Association at alz.org. Sponsored by the Alzheimer's Association.
Back to Take the Points, powered by the Sportsbook at
Live
Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona, exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Wrapping up the first hour of the show, live in CAZ Sportsbook, Sports Bar at Casino, Arizona. It's the place to be, especially with football coming up. You got preseason football, college football, just 3 Saturdays away. Live kiosks. They got a whole sports book over there. They've got a bunch of TVs, sports bar. It's paradise on earth. Come out here. CAZ Sports Bar and Sportsbook in Casino, Arizona. Well, Ben, I'm going to toss this to you because there's lists in the summer, and there's a specific list that comes out every year that's composed by, I think, the NFL players all vote on it. NFL players, NFL coaches. It's an NFL Network thing that they do every year called the NFL Top 100. And I don't know if this is one of the worst lists I've seen, but definitely at the top. It's got a lot of people buzzing, and especially you. You're not very too fond of it, and I'm going to toss it to you on what you've seen from this list and who is the number one player in the NFL from last season.
Yeah, it's why players play, coaches coach, and the rest of us just evaluate, because I don't really understand the NFL Top 100, and we were never going to talk about it because I thought that they were at least going to get the number one spot right. But they put that person number 4. So number 10 was Max Crosby, Travis Kelce, 9, TJ Watt, 8, Trent Williams, 7, which I think is still pretty low for him. Chris Jones, 6, Myles Garrett, 5, Patrick Mahomes, number 4, Christian McCaffrey, number 3, Lamar Jackson, number 2, Tyreek Hill, number 1. What are we doing? What are we doing?
I think once you said Patrick Mahomes at 4, I think I just
invalidates the entire list. It doesn't matter where they put anyone, because if you can't put the guy who Nick Wright had a really good tweet of this. This also means that the top 3 is Tyreek Hill, Mahomes beat in round 1, Lamar Jackson beat by Mahomes in the AFC Conference Championship game, and Christian McCaffrey beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl, are all listed ahead. 2-time MVP, 3-time Super Bowl champion, and 3-time Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, look, what are we doing?
It just feels like jealousy, right? It just feels like jealousy to this point where it's like, what are you doing? You really don't think the best player in the league is Patrick Mahomes? It should be Patrick Mahomes. The second spot is vacant, and then the third. That's how big the gap is no one deserves to be number 2. And then Tyreek Hill, number 1. A player cannot be number 1 who is directly, his performance is directly correlative to Tua Tagovailoa's. It baffles me that this is the case. And so it's just something I wanted to talk about because it just discredits the entire list. Whoever it was anywhere. The Cardinals had one player. Budda Baker was in the 89th spot or something like that, which even just leads me to believe as well, they really weren't paying attention.
Yeah, why is he on the list?
Budda Baker wasn't even the best safety on this team last year. So
yeah, he shouldn't even made the Pro Bowl. It should have been the guy, Winfield out of the Bucs.
Oh, yeah.
He should have made the
Antoine
Pro Bowl
Winfield.
over him. Look, I mean, lists are lists. I think even ranking the NFL top 100 players is tough. But yeah, you're right. Mahomes has got to be 1. I think Tyreek Hill, the way they use him and the yards after catch is definitely something that sets him apart in the league. I agree. I think he should be top 5 player in the league. Maybe slotted at 4. I think McCaffrey's definitely got to be above him. But Lamar Jackson, the MVP season, I get it. But to have, just based on quarterback rankings itself, to have Lamar Jackson over Patrick Mahomes, what are we doing?
Tyreek Hill, 4 years, got a new deal this morning, $106 million guaranteed for a 30-year-old wide receiver. It just continues to baffle me what the Miami Dolphins are doing. You either believe in Tua Tagovailoa or you either believe in Tyreek Hill. Paying both guys that ridiculous amount of money is going to cripple you. Just
30.
Insanity.
And that's a guy in Tyreek Hill. And I correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't a couple years ago he said that he had a set age that he was going to retire? That he was going for 3 more years and he was going to retire early after this deal? Sorry, Tyreek. You're going to be playing in Miami for longer.
We call that leverage, my friend.
Got you. Leverage. Hour number 1 is in the books. Coming up next on the second hour, we're going to talk college football. That's coming up next. Fox Sports 910.
Clear.
Take the Points has been sponsored by On Air Sports Marketing.
What's up, guys? Jason Payne, owner of State 48 Roofing. Monsoon season is upon us. Be proactive today. Go to state48roofing.com. Scan the QR code below. We want to take care of you. Be proactive. Get your maintenance done. We are home of the hashtag sexy roof status.
Jenny.
Hey, Jenny.
Jenny, come on in. Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Steve, how you doing?
Meg.
Meg, nice to see you. Hey, Meg.
Arena Sports Grill. Come on out for the sports, off-track betting, incredible food, and friendly faces. The best daily specials in Scottsdale. Arena Sports Grill, 62nd Street in Bell. We know you.
If you haven't tried G2G protein bars, today is the day. Find them in your local Costco's refrigerated section or online at g2gbar.com. Incredible taste and packed with protein. They are perfect for your on-the-go lifestyle. Check them out today.
I'm Tiffany, founder of Harlem Pilates. When I couldn't find Pilates in my neighborhood, I started a studio from my studio apartment. Chase Inc. helped me grow from one Pilates studio to 3. Because when you start small, you're going to need some big help.
With the Chase Inc. Business Cash Card, you can earn up to 5% cash back on business essentials, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
With Progressive Insurance, we make it easy to save money. When you bundle your auto policy with home, condo, or renters, you will earn a multi-policy discount. Easy to bundle, easy to save. Visit Progressive.com.
Let the games begin.
While you work, iHeartRadio keeps you connected to Team USA with live coverage of swimming, basketball, volleyball, gymnastics, and more from Paris. Tell your smart speaker to play NBC Olympics Radio or NBC Olympics Radio Plus to listen now.
Come on in to Total Wine & More. Prices much lower than a grocery store. Spirits, wine, beer for a whole lot less. Walking down the aisles makes you stop and say, yes! From mixing cocktails, a friendly get-together, or a brunch outdoors, Total Wine has everything you need, and more. With the lowest prices and best selection for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Monday from 10 to 1. Fox Sports 910. KGME Phoenix. KESC HD3 Phoenix.
Gold. American Jade Carey took home bronze. Men's gymnast Steven Nedorosik, the pommel horse specialist, took home bronze in the pommel horse final. USA Basketball cruised past Puerto Rico. They finished a perfect 3-0 in the group, earned the top seed in the quarterfinals. They'll face Brazil on Tuesday. American Ryan Krauser took home gold in the shot put. He becomes the first man to three-peat in Olympic shot put history. Sha'Carri Richardson is one of 3 Americans to qualify for the women's 100-meter final. That is coming up at approximately 12:20 p.m. Eastern. Women's soccer into the semifinals. I'm Nick Cope.
This is the Parker & Sons Weather Center. For all your AC, plumbing, and electric needs, call Parker.
Tough finish to your Saturday. We'll top out around 115. That excessive heat warning still in effect for today and tomorrow. Be careful out there. Overnight, we'll drop to 91 under clear skies. And your Sunday, just like your Saturday, sunny and 115. For the Fox 10 weather experts, I'm Corey McCloskey.
This report is sponsored by Taco Bell. New Lux Cravings box from Taco Bell with cheesy, crunchy favorites, chips and nacho cheese sauce, and a drink for just $7. Try it today at participating Taco Bell stores for a limited time only while supplies last. Price and participation vary. Drinks excludes freezes. Tax extra.
Take the Points is sponsored by On Air Sports Marketing. Time for Arizona's only local sports gambling radio show. Take the Points. Powered by the Sportsbook at CAC Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona. Your home for uncensored sports betting opinions, analysis, and advice. The guys have you covered for all the games. Now, take the Points on Fox Sports 910 and the iHeartRadio app.
Happy Saturday. Hour number 2. Fox Sports 910, take the Points. Jackson Groff joining you here. You can follow me on Twitter, all social media, at Jackson Groff. Ben Garcia has left the building. He's on his way to the red-white scrimmage for the Arizona Cardinals at State Farm Stadium, which starts at 1:15. Parking begins at 12:15. So with that being said, we talked a lot of NFL in the first hour. And for those who know me personally, I am a diehard, I don't want to say analyst. I'm a nerd when it comes to college football. And we are 3 Saturdays away from Florida State, Georgia Tech, and Dublin, Ireland. And I understand for people out there and folks out there, it's not an intriguing matchup. But it's college football, and that's what we love so much. So coming up this hour, we're going to talk SEC preview to start off. We're going to break down the conference from a sports betting perspective, who's favored, break down who are some of the teams that can contend for the SEC, let alone college football playoff, and then give my take on the conference and predictions and who I think is going to win the SEC. Then we're going to do the same thing and preview the Big Ten Conference. Break down some of these Pac-12 teams that have left the Pac-12, RIP, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, all departing and going to the Big Ten. What will they look like next season, and what do the sportsbooks think of them? And then we're going to talk about the college football playoff and college football Betting wise, in terms of the awards, the Heisman, who's favored to win the national championship, the week 1 odds, and then we got Casey Walsh here at the Sportsbook to kind of talk about NFL preseason and what's going on here with college football futures. But let's start out with the SEC conference, college football. 2 teams added into this conference, Texas and Oklahoma, come from the Big 12. The odds-on favorite right now at plus 185 is the Georgia Bulldogs. No surprise there. Followed by the Texas Longhorns at plus 350. Alabama at plus 700, Ole Miss plus 750, LSU plus 1,000, and it goes on and on. A&M, Tennessee, Missouri, Oklahoma. I can go down the list. Let's start out with Georgia. This is a team in the Georgia Bulldogs that's been known for a weaker schedule. They've lost a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers took their talents to the NFL. So this offense is going completely different, but the constant is Carson Beck. Carson Beck coming last year, a lot of pressure on him. Not a lot of people knew who he was. Big shoes to fill with Stetson Bennett, 2-time national champion. But what Carson Beck did last year was one of the more impressive quarterback performances and why he's the number 1 quarterback in my eyes heading into college football this season. He's got an 80% completion rate from 0 to 20 yards down the field. Further than that, he's got a big cannon. He's 6'4". He's smart. He's been in the program for 4 to 5 years. He comes back with 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen. Anytime you've got your offensive lineman coming back, you've got new defenses on the other side of the ball, but you've got both coordinators coming back, and you've got a legendary head coach in Kirby Smart. Georgia Bulldogs aren't going anywhere. They're definitely going to be a contender for the SEC. The biggest addition when I look at this Georgia team, though, is the Florida transfer running back, Trevor Etienne, the brother of Travis Etienne. This is a guy from Florida, 2 years, 1,000-yard running back, but comes to a team in Georgia where I think they're going to lean on him more because of how depleted and how new this wide receiver core, a new tight end, and Oscar Delp is going to be. Trevor Etienne is a guy, and you can't bet on college football props, but this is a guy I'd look out for, and I would put money on that he not only leads Georgia in rushing, 1,000, 1,200 yards, but leads the conference in rushing. I think they bank on him with an offensive line coming back as well. For the wide receiver core, they got Dominic Lovett, who's going to be a breakout wide receiver, a transfer out of Mizzou. This is the guy that produced last year. He's their leading wide receiver, 54 catches, 613 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He comes back. And on the defensive side of the ball, you return your All-American safety, Malachi Starks, as well as another guy to watch out for, C.J. Allen at the linebacker position. But my overview on Georgia is their win total right now is at 10.5, right? There's 12 games in the season, 10.5. You need them to be 11-1 heading into the SEC championship. Georgia's usually known for having a weak schedule, and I get it's Georgia Bulldogs, so you shouldn't concern, but their schedule's tough, folks. They not only play the other 3 SEC contenders, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, in their schedule, but they're all road games. You play Clemson to start out the season to win. Tennessee Tech at Kentucky. You have a bye week, you go at Alabama. They haven't been to Alabama since 2007. Playing in Tuscaloosa is going to be a hostile environment. I do expect Carson Beck and the boys with Jalen Milroe and things going on with Kalen DeBoer, and I'll get to Alabama in a second. But I expect Georgia to go in there and win. The game that's going to be tough, and I'm looking at the odds right now, and it's kind of a 50-50 game, is at Texas. This Texas team is damn good, folks. And this is a team in Texas coming into the SEC from the Big 12 with the NIL money they have, with how Steve Sarkisian's finally got the team and the vision that he set, that he's been wanting to do his whole entire college career. But not only that, for Texas to have a bunch of wide receivers go to the NFL, a bunch of defensive players go to the NFL and reload, and not only reload out of the transfer portal, but get guys in Isaiah Bond at wide receiver. That's the same skill level as Xavier Worthy, not as fast as Xavier Worthy, but a mix between Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell. And then you get a guy in Aaron Nimblak at tight end that's kind of a similar style to Jachavion Sanders, who was there last year, kind of that flex hybrid tight end that really opens up the field for those one-on-one outside matchups for Isaiah Bond and Jonte Cook on the offensive side of the ball. You got Quinn Ewers there at quarterback, a guy that's been in the system for about 3 or 4 years. Say what you want to say about Arch Manning. Oh, Arch Manning's going to play over him. Jackson, what are you talking about? Quinn Ewers can play football, ladies and gentlemen. This is the year, I think, that he takes another breakout season. And I think Texas has a good shot of making the SEC championship. But back to Georgia. They go at Texas. You go at Ole Miss. You got Tennessee at home, at Alabama. So it's going to be a big test for Georgia. They finally, the SEC, going no divisions this season. You're going to see Georgia in certain road games. That's going to be a test for them. But if they can go out and, win 11, 12 games, definitely a lock to make the college football playoff. They're at minus 600. I mentioned the Texas Longhorns. They've got a lot of five-star sophomore guys to mention. Jonte Cook being one. Also, Amari Nimblack's his name. Sorry, Amari Nimblack, the tight end. Him and Isaiah Bond come from Alabama and go over to Texas. Those two are going to be impact on the offensive side of the ball. C.J. Baxter has a bigger role at running back. This is a guy that split carries last year with Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks gets hurt, ACL, talented running back who's now on the Panthers. C.J. Baxter comes in as a sophomore. This sophomore class is going to be phenomenal for Texas. Texas's win total right now is also at 10.5 too. So those two, in my opinion, are the championship contenders, national championship contenders for the SEC conference. We get to kind of a tier 2. This is the Alabama. This is the Ole Miss of, on paper, really talented. Kalen DeBoer, Jalen Milroe, the connection those two have, and what we saw with Kalen DeBoer doing with Michael Penix and what he can unlock in his game and how he transformed his game from what Penix was at Indiana to what Penix was at Washington. Their ability to throw it all over the yard, the 1,000-yard wide receivers they had at Washington, the offensive mind creativity. I think it does hurt that Ryan Grubb didn't leave. The OC that's been following him his whole career goes to Alabama and then took that job for the Seattle Seahawks. But I think this Alabama team definitely can be in contention for a college football playoff spot, could potentially be in contention for an SEC championship. They're just going to have to win. They're going to have to lose only one game in the SEC. They can't lose two. You got Georgia at home, you got at Tennessee, and Missouri at Oklahoma, and obviously you end with Auburn in the year, and you go at LSU. So for this Alabama team, plus 700 to win the SEC, I don't know if they're going to win the SEC personally, but when it comes down for them to making the college football playoff and for them to represent the SEC, they're at plus 100 right now. Something to note there. But Alabama, another team that returns 4 of their 5 starters from last season on the offensive line. Another wide receiver core that's going to look a lot different. That's my only concern with Alabama is how will Jalen Milroe adapt to the new wide receivers who haven't had a lot of reps from last year. I mean, their leading wide receiver coming back production-wise is Kobe Prentice with 314 yards, 18 catches. So that's something to note with them. A team that's really interesting, and Lane Kiffin finally gets his team, 5th year in the program, 11-2 last year. You return to quarterback Jackson Dart as Ole Miss. I think this Ole Miss team can win a national championship if they perform well in the SEC. This is a team. You look at the schedule, it's on the easier side. And I don't say easy because the SEC is not an easy conference, but in terms of Georgia's schedule versus theirs, I'm looking at Phil Steele's magazine right here. It's ranked 40th in all of the FBS in terms of schedule. You open up with Furman, Middle Tennessee, at Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky, at South Carolina, at LSU. There's a point in the schedule I'm looking here. They go 6-0. Their toughest game is going to be home against Georgia, home against Oklahoma, maybe later in the season if they get things figured out. But this is a team, I think, in Ole Miss, and I'm looking at their over-under total at 9.5. I think they can win 10 games and be a 10-2. I think they lose to Georgia, and I think they do get clipped in either at Florida later in the year at the Swamp or potentially at LSU. Maybe they get too comfortable. Maybe they get too comfortable with the outside noise, and they get one of those clipped there. A ton of teams. I could go on and talk college football about all these teams, but real quickly as we wrap up this segment for the SEC preview, I'm going to give you kind of my overs I like in terms of win totals and unders I like in win totals, and then we're going to talk about the Big Ten next. When you look at win totals, 2 overs I like, and a confidence level I have of 8 out of 10 is the Alabama Crimson Tide to win 10 games. I like the over 9.5 wins. I think they get it done. I think Georgia's going to be a tough game for them. But outside of that, I think there's games that later in the season when Kalen DeBoer and Jalen Milroe get on the same schedule, get on the same wavelength, I do think they come out and win. I like the over for that. Another over I really do like, and I think this team takes a step forward, is Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma's schedule is going to be really tough this season. They've got one of the tougher schedules in a new conference with a young quarterback in Jackson Arnold, and I don't really take too much from that bowl game against Arizona. Arizona's defense was phenomenal, and late notice, the pressures. him being his first ever starts in college. He's had the whole offseason to deal with, but they've got a really tough schedule. Home against Tennessee, at Auburn. They've obviously got Red River with Texas, at Ole Miss, at Missouri, home against Alabama, and wrap up at LSU. I like them to get over 8 wins. Now, my confidence level on that, I'd say probably a 6.5 out of 10, but those are two. When I look at the over-under totals and win totals, I like the most. Lastly, these are 2 unders I'm really confident on. I'm shocked. Texas A&M, over-under total, win total is 8.5. 8.5 wins. You think Mike Elko in year 1 with Connor Weigman, a quarterback coming off of an injury, sophomore, they lost a ton of talent in the portal. It's a big mess that Mike Elko is going to have to come in and fill, and I think he's the right coach for it. But I think in year 1, they win 6 games. I like the under for Texas A&M. Feel really confident about that. And lastly, I can't believe this team was ranked 5th in the preseason poll. The LSU Tigers, folks, are not winning 10 games this season. I'm sorry. They are not winning 10 games this season. When you look at their schedule, and I refer to schedule a lot during this segment, but you have to when you bet on a win total. USC, they should win. Also, bet the over on that game as well. Both teams hate playing defense, and both teams, I understand, LSU's got a new D coordinator from Mizzou. USC's got a new D coordinator. Both teams still don't like to play defense. USC, they win. Nichols, they win. At South Carolina, week 3 is going to be a tough game. UCLA, they win. South Alabama. But Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, at Florida, I think are some really puzzling games. And for that 9-5, you got to hope if you bet the over that they win 10 games. I think there's easily 3 or 4 games on the schedule. I can see the LSU Tigers losing. You lost your quarterback, Jaden Daniels, the Heisman winner. You lost your stud wide receivers, Bryant Jr. And, oh my gosh, I'm blanking out on his name. Number 1 wide receiver taken off the board last year for LSU. So I understand that LSU lost a lot of talent last year, and I do not buy in on the hype. Malik Neighbors was the number 1 wide receiver last year. I just think they lost too much. If they can use Harold Perkins on the correct side of things, on the defensive side of the ball, see quarterback, get quarterback, then I'll believe in this LSU defense. But I just think them only returning 6 starters on both offense and defense, I think it's going to be a tough year for LSU, and I like that under 9.5 wins. Well, coming up next, we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to talk Big Ten football. It's all college football this hour. You're listening to Take the Points. Jackson Groff, we got you covered till 1 p.m. Fox Sports 910.
Take the Points.
Sorry, Jack.
Powered by the Sportsbook at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona continues next on Fox Sports 910 and the free iHeartRadio app.
No. You're good. I got you.
It's important. You need to consider the law firm.
Leasing or renting many makes and models of copiers. For a free quote, call 623-252-8282. Document Solutions of the Valley. Our service can't be copied.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch? Every day, from lunch to late night. Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Rock for WrightToyota.com. At Wright Toyota, they'd like you to get to know them. Their goal is to make buying your next vehicle the kind of experience that earns your recommendation to family and friends. They invite you to use all of their innovative web tools on WrightToyota.com. So if you're looking for a new or pre-owned Toyota, head to their interactive website at WrightToyota.com. The right price, the right selection, all at WrightToyota.com.
Crest Insurance is about more than providing coverage. It's about creating your safety net. We offer access to a national network of trusted carriers, Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, we're here to help with a personal touch that's close to home. We're deeply invested in our communities, supporting local charities and initiatives that uplift those in need. Crest Insurance. Coverage you can trust. Service you can count on.
Need an electric charger installed or a TV mounted? Contact AC Electrical Family at acelectricalfamily.com or call 602-577-1392. That's acelectricalfamily.com to book your free quote now. AC Electrical Family. Power up with the best.
Get ready for double the fun on the 101. Introducing the Salt River Rewards Program at Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort, the Valley's newest and best. With multiple tiers and endless benefits, we've got something for everyone. Don't miss out on the excitement. Salt River Rewards, the Valley's premier player rewards program, now at Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort. 2 properties, 1 amazing club, offering limitless fun on the 101. Discover the best in the Valley at saltriverrewards.com.
Hey, it's Dom with Venezia's Pizzeria. You know us for delicious family dinners and huge party pizzas. But did you know we are great at feeding a large group too? Our full catering menu has a ton of variety, so everyone will find something they love. And the best part? We don't charge per head. Just tell us how many people you need to feed, and we'll handle the rest. Check out our catering menu at venezias.com. That's venezias.com. Venezia's, a family and catering tradition.
Stay ahead of the curve with your commute. ADOT's I-10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project is making great progress. That means better travel times, safer commutes, plus easier access to work, schools, retail, and Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. Want to stay informed about upcoming closures and construction traffic? Good news! You can get real-time updates on the app. Available at i10broadwaycurve.com. This message is sponsored by the Arizona Department of Transportation.
This could be the craziest podcast pairing ever. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and Super Bowl champ Marshawn Beast Mode Lynch are politicking.
What does politicking even mean? There's bridging gaps with no politics.
Joined by their friend and agent Doug Hendrickson, it's going to be a wild ride.
We can change the world podcast by podcast.
Listen to Politicking with Gavin Newsom, Marshawn Lynch, and Doug Hendrickson on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search Politicking and start listening.
Back to Take the Points, powered by the Sportsbook at CAC Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona, exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Welcome back. Take the Points, Fox Sports 910, the only local sports gambling radio show in Arizona. I am your host, Jackson Groff. You can follow me on Twitter or X. I still call it Twitter, at Jackson Groff. Instagram, at Jackson Groff 8. Just Jackson Groff anywhere. JacksonGroff. And you'll find me and all the content produced from the show and from other stuff out there as well. We said on the other side, we're going to talk Big Ten football this segment, sports betting perspective and also a football perspective, because college football, folks, is just 3 weeks away. You look at the preseason poll for the Big Ten Conference, that looks completely different, adding 4 teams this season. The Pac-12 teams, RIP, still sad about it, still upset. I think it's something that it's going to take long for me to get used to, calling it the Power 4 and not the Power 5. It's upsetting. But anyways, I digress. Preseason poll was voted on media members of the Big Ten. The Ohio State Buckeyes projected to finish first with 8 first-place votes, followed by Oregon with 5. A tie for third, Michigan, Penn State. USC at 5. Iowa at 6. 7, Wisconsin. 8, Nebraska. 9, Washington. 10, Rutgers. 11, Maryland. 12, Michigan State. 13, Minnesota. 14, UCLA. Illinois, Indiana, Northwestern, and Purdue. So that is your preseason poll heading into the Big Ten championship, Big Ten season. When you look at the odds for who's going to win the Big Ten, it's no surprise here. It's 2 teams, and then it's everyone else. 2 teams, some contenders that could scare some of those contender teams, and then it's everyone else. Ohio State's the favorite at plus 155, followed by Oregon at plus 200. And then Penn State plus 500, Michigan plus 750, and then a massive gap with USC plus 2,500 and Iowa plus 3,300. So let's start out with the championship contenders when looking at the Big Ten Conference. No shocker here, the Ohio State Buckeyes returning a ton of talent from last season. A lot of guys that people projected to go to the NFL draft and get drafted highly. JT Tumalau, Emeka Ibuka, and also adding a guy in Caleb Downs that was the best signing in all the transfer portal. He leaves Alabama, the freshman talented safety, over 100 tackles, was their leading tackler last year for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Caleb Downs is not only the best safety in football at how young he is, but this is a guy next season that's going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. One will be one of the highest safeties in the history of football to get drafted, because it's not all. And I saw Daniel Jeremiah talk about Caleb Downs and what he does so well and with the safety is, if you can have a safety, there's 3 categories. There's covering in zone, there's man-to-man coverage, and there's the ability to tackle. And if you have a guy that's good at 2 out of the 3, he's an elite defensive back. But Caleb Downs is elite at all 3. This guy, adding to a defense that returns 9 starters from last season. Jack Sawyer on the defensive line. You've got Cody Simon and Sonny Styles that have played 13 games last season, 12 games last season. And then a DB core with Caleb Downs is going to be the best DB core in the country. Lathan Ransom, the South Point Catholic products coming back. Denzel Burke, the Saguaro product, Arizona product on that defensive side. And then on the offensive side, you have an offensive line, 3 or 4 starters from last season coming back. You add Seth McLaughlin, the center from Alabama, who struggled in the Rose Bowl game. But if you watch him outside of that game when he had trouble, snapping the football to Jalen Milroe on that last play, which ultimately cost him the Rose Bowl, the dude's really talented. I mean, he's a senior. He started in 25 games at Alabama. He's meant to play football, and he'll be a huge addition for that offensive line. But my worry with Ohio State, though, and I understand they added Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator, and they're loaded on both sides of the ball, is that quarterback. And it's disappointing because in the transfer portal heading into it, there were speculations that Cam Ward, Washington State quarterback, was in the portal, and that him and Ohio State would be a mesh, would be a perfect fit. They finally find their elite quarterback with this much elite talent. And by the way, Quinshon Judkins adding to this running back field with Travion Henderson, best duo in the country by far. But I'm concerned with Will Howard, and I'm concerned with what I saw from him last year in Kansas State. He looked flustered in the pocket. Not a lot of smart passes coming from him. 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Now, does part of that have to do with the pressures of Avery Johnson breathing down his neck? And Kansas State's ideal plan with Kleiman, they always wanted to have Avery Johnson as their future. But this is a guy, Will Howard, that won a Big 12 title with Kansas State the year before. So I'm not knocking Will Howard. He's a good quarterback. But is he going to be that quarterback that takes him over the edge to win the Big 10 title? Because there's a lot of pressure on Ryan Day this year. Not only losing 3 times in a row to Michigan, but with how much talent you brought back, and Chip Kelly coming back as the offensive coordinator. It's a concern if Will Howard's your quarterback and he doesn't start out the way you thought it was, and then you start to get in a rotation of question marks at quarterback like you did last year with Kyle McCord. If that happens again with this Ohio State team, I think it's a major red flag. Now with Chip Kelly's known for his run scheme, one of the best run offensive coordinators in all of college football, one of the best offensive minds in college football. They could just say, you know what, Will Howard, we don't want you to throw the football down the field. We just want you to hand it off. But then you're taking away the other side of that offense with Emeka Ibuka, who's a first-round talent, with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith with a lot of upside as young wide receivers, and Brian Hartline also being the wide receiver coach there too. So I have a hard time believing that they're just going to be one-dimensional. I'm really concerned about Will Howard. We'll see. He feels comfortable with Chip Kelly and all these weapons. Maybe he transforms his game. But I got to see it from Will Howard this season for me to fully buy in on Ohio State to not only win the Big Ten, but to win the college football playoff. My favorite to win at plus 200 is the Oregon Ducks. You want to talk about a team, Oregon and Texas, their ability to reload in the transfer portal with guys that went off to the NFL, right? I just mentioned Texas. Oregon with Bo Nix leaving, with Troy Franklin leaving, some interior guys, Jackson Powers Johnson at the center position. But to get a guy in Evan Stewart, the number one wide receiver in the transfer portal, to get a guy in Dylan Gabriel, who I wasn't a fan of before last season. He's been in college football. It's about to be his 6th year in college. But I never really saw the ability of Dylan Gabriel to take over a game, to change a game, to carry the team on his back and win a game until I saw in his 2nd year at Oklahoma in that Red River rivalry game. And if you remember that Red River rivalry game, they're down 3 points, 1 minute left, no timeouts. Dylan Gabriel would go on to lead that that Oklahoma team with no timeouts all the way down the field, 285 yards, 1 touchdown, 14 carries, 113 yards, and 1 touchdown on the ground. But that 75-yard drive, a minute 20 in one of the biggest Red River rivalry games of Oklahoma. Brent Venables coming off of last year and not beating Texas. It was the biggest moment for Dylan Gabriel's career, and it's going to propel him in an Oregon offense where Will Stein, and it fits him so perfectly in what they want to do with Bo Nix. I think Oregon has a slight edge of Ohio State. On paper, Oregon, obviously, on the defensive side of the ball, you got Jabbar Muhammad, Jordan Birch, Jeffrey Basha coming back in the linebacker position. But on the offensive side of the ball, to come back with Tez Johnson, Jordan James, a running back that got split carries with Bucky Irving, but he's a dark horse and a secret X-Factor weapon for Oregon this season. I think it gives them the slight edge because in college football, folks, the quarterback position, it gets talked about the most. But when it comes down to crucial games that set you apart, the fourth quarter and critical moments, 2 minutes, red zone, 4th down, Dylan Gabriel in this offense is going to have the advantage over Ohio State. And Ohio State this year going into Oregon, it's going to be one of those games we'll know about both teams. Will Howard and for Oregon and Dylan Gabriel, who they are, the identities, and what these quarterbacks can do and propel them into the postseason and college football playoff in the Big Ten championship. On the other side, we got to go to break. We're going to talk more Big Ten. That's coming up next. Fox Sports 9.
The Points, powered by the Sportsbook at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona, continues next on Fox Sports 910 and the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey, sports fans, celebrate every big game with El Bandito Yankee, an ultra-premium tequila made from 100% Blue Weber agave in the highlands of Jalisco. Their certified additive-free Blanco and Reposado feature a unique oxygenation process for a rich smoothness without that tequila burn. That's why they've won platinum and gold medals and are now listed as one of the world's top tequilas by Rolling Stone. Head over to your local store, favorite bar, or restaurant and enjoy. Go to elbanditoyankee.com and break out the Bandito with the official tequila of game day.
Get ready for double the fun on the 101. Introducing the Salt River Rewards Program at Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort, the Valley's newest and best. With multiple tiers and endless benefits, we've got something for everyone. Don't miss out on the excitement. Salt River Rewards, the Valley's premier player rewards program, now at Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort. 2 properties, 1 amazing club, offering limitless fun on the 101. Discover the best in the Valley at saltriverrewards.com.
Life's a sprint. Need G2G protein bars. Grab and go fuel for the office, links, and daily grind. Score an 8-pack at Costco or explore flavors at G2Gbar.com. Quick, delicious, power-packed G2G protein bars. Setting your pace.
Jenny!
Hey, Jenny!
Jenny, come on in! Steve!
Hey, Steve!
Steve, how you doing?
Meg!
Meg, nice to see you! Hey, Meg!
Arena Sports Grill. Come on out for the sports, off-track betting, incredible food, and friendly faces. The best daily specials in Scottsdale. Arena Sports Grill, 62nd Street in Bell. We know you.
Crest Insurance is about more than providing coverage. It's about creating your safety net. We offer access to a national network of trusted carriers. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, we're here to help with a personal touch that's close to home. With Crest, you're not only protecting what matters most, but also helping to build stronger, more resilient communities. Crest Insurance, coverage you can trust, service you can count on.
Any car dealer in Arizona can compete on price. That's what dealers do. But not many dealers can compete on customer satisfaction. Like Wright Toyota. Make the right choice. Wright Toyota in Scottsdale. Just off the 101 on Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. And online at WrightToyota.com.
There's something that binds us all. The constant hunger to improve, the obsession with every detail, and the reward of a custom fitting taking your game to a whole new level. We're all bound by two words said by golfers worldwide. Schedule your fitting at Vans Golf Shops. Find your local store at worldwidegolf.com. Get there.
Year after year, Lerner Rowe is voted best personal injury law firm in Arizona. You may wonder why. The answer is quite simple. Lerner Rowe is so popular because we give every client excellent service and a superior experience. But also the main reason is results. We've recovered billions of dollars for our clients with over $1 billion collected in the last 5 years alone. Our phone lines are always open and our legal team is standing by right now, waiting for your call.
Lerner and Rowe is the way to go. Call 977-1900.
iHeartRadio is the exclusive audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics. Listen to what's happening right now at the Olympics on Two Guys, Five Rings, the essential iHeart podcast for the Summer Games.
Have you ever carried a torch for someone?
It's all about the athletes.
Simone Biles is about to be taken on the ride of her life astrologically.
And the culture.
I'm Matt Rogers.
And I'm Owen Yin. We're the Two Guys.
Listen to Two Guys, Five Rings on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app, search Two Guys, Five Rings, and start listening.
Back to Take the Points.
Live.
Powered by the Sportsbook at CAC Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona. Exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Casey Walsh from the CAZ Sportsbook and Sports Bar will be joining us after this segment. We're live here at Casino, Arizona. I want to continue the discussion about the Big Ten Conference because I think both the SEC and the Big Ten Conference is going to be really interesting this year. There was talks at Media Day with Greg Sankey talking about how they deserve to have 5 teams in. Matt Rule in Nebraska is talking about how Big Ten deserves to have 4 or 5 teams in this season. So I think it's going to be a real battle between the Big Ten and the SEC because we know the Big 12 most likely going to have 1, potentially 2 teams that come out of there. ACC, with how weak it is, no offense to the ACC conference, not non-conference and in the conference. We expect 1 conference champ out of that conference. But for both the Big Ten and the SEC, it's going to be up to debate. Who has more teams? I would favor the SEC. I think the SEC could get 4, maybe 5 teams in. When I look at the Big Ten right now and you look at the odds for who can make the college football playoff for the Big Ten alone, Ohio State minus 650, lock. Oregon minus 300, lock. Now, this team is highly favored to make the playoff, and they should make the playoff, but there's a lot of question marks heading into the season. There's a lot of high pressure on James Franklin, and I'm talking about the Penn State Nittany Lions as that second-tier team in the Big Ten Conference. After what happened last year, kind of a disappointing season for the Big Ten, for Penn State. They went 10-2, another 10-2 year where you win all the games, but you can't win against Ohio State and you can't win against Michigan. Now, luckily for them this year in the Big Ten going no divisions, you only have to play Ohio State. You don't have to play Michigan this year. Michigan's a little depleted with all those guys leaving and them winning a national championship and Jim Harbaugh leaving. I think Michigan will have a good year this year as, Michigan's win total at over-under is at 8.5. I can see them winning 9 games. They've got a tough schedule. Them playing Texas earlier in the year. USC they should win. At Washington they should win. Oregon at home. Oregon, Texas, and at Ohio State will be those tough games. So I think for Michigan they can win 9 games. And 9-3 though, I don't think that gets you in the playoff. But Penn State, a team that, last year was very disappointing. The offensive efficiency and the offensive production that they could not get out of Drew Aller. 58% completion rate with how talented he was. 4-star quarterback, so much high expectations, but they just could not get things going on the outside for Drew Aller in this offense. This could be the last year you see with another good running back duo with Singleton and with Katron Allen. You do add Julian Fleming, the transfer wide receiver from Ohio State. It's going to be real intriguing on both sides of the football for this team because this is a team, you lose your offensive coordinator, you actually fire your offensive coordinator, you get a new offensive coordinator, you lose your defensive coordinator, Manny Diaz, who's now the head coach at Duke, and you get a new special teams coordinator this season. So it's going to be real in a schedule that's favorable for Penn State. You only play Ohio State is the only major game, and I'm looking at the schedule. That scares me. At West Virginia, week 1's not going to be an easy game. But this is a big year for James Franklin in his 11th year. And you've got to make the college football playoff. You got to contend for the Big Ten. And them being minus 450, I think, is a little too favoritism towards them. I got to see their offense. I got to see Drew out to complete the football with short, intermediate passes, as well as stretch the ball downfield. He's got a big arm, but it's a big year for Penn State. They should make the playoff. But I wouldn't. I think minus 445 is a little too generous in terms of them making the playoff. Michigan plus 150, and then you got USC plus 440, Iowa plus 750, and then Nebraska at plus 850, all to make the playoff. So if I was a betting man right now, I think 2 ideally make the playoff with Ohio State and Oregon. Penn State's weaker schedule. And what you assume coming back, they've got 7 starters on offense, 6 starters on defense coming back. I guess you could make the playoff there. Michigan's question marks. I do like this Michigan team next year, and I understand, J.J. McCarthy leaving is a big miss. I think Donovan Edwards coming back, you're starting running back, and what we saw from him in the college football playoff, the national championship, him having a bigger role. I'm excited to see him as the number 1 guy, the go-to guy. Can he be up to the potential of a Blake Corum? We'll have to see the season. Colston Loveland's a great talent on offense, but their defense, you did lose a lot of guys. 6 starters from last year. You returned 5, but you have the best corner in the country, Will Johnson, the best nose tackle in Mason Graham, and then one of the best safeties in college football in Makari Page coming back for that Michigan team. It's going to be interesting with Sherrone Moore. Obviously, the expectations, championship or bust. You succeeded in that last season. I just don't know in terms of them in a conference. I could see the Big Ten having 3 and no more further than that. You look at some of them other win totals that I like. I think Washington is going to be a sneaky team this year. I understand they lost a ton of talent last year. They've got 44 new scholarship players, 13 transfers. But with Jed Fish being how talented of a coach he was, I don't think he takes that job unless he has a vision and he knows with Will Rogers being a veteran quarterback, a guy that's played a lot of snaps, big thrower of the football at quarterback, Damon Williams, who I wouldn't be shocked to see later on, a dual threat quarterback for them, as well as Jonah Coleman, the running back out of Arizona, transfers to Washington. He's a really slept-on running back. He's going to have an even bigger role for this Washington team. Split carries with Arizona. That's another 1,000-yard running back. I think with Washington, if there's a win total I like from this, I think 6.5. I could see them winning 7 games this season in their first year in the Big Ten. Weber State, Eastern Michigan, Wazoo, Northwestern, you start out 4-0. At Rutgers, maybe a tough game on the road. Big Ten, maybe. Michigan at home, they could lose that. At Penn State, they lose that. At Oregon, so that's 3 games right there. I think they could easily win 8 to 9 games. It's just a lot of question marks on the defensive side, but Washington Huskies definitely want to look out for in terms of a win total and for them to, make some noise in the Big Ten their first year. You just got to make a bowl game if you're a Washington Huskies team. Very young team. And I think with Jed Fish, don't be surprised if that's one of those teams next year. We look for Washington to kind of be a top 5 team in the Big Ten. In terms of the SEC, when you look at the odds to make the college football playoff, we just talked about it. The 3 highest teams in the Big Ten. Ohio State's going to make it. Put your whole mortgage on it. Don't really do it. Don't put your mortgage on Ohio State and Oregon making the college football playoff, but they will be in. But in terms of the other SEC teams, Georgia's minus 600 to make the college football playoff. Texas minus 220. Then you got Ole Miss and Alabama. Ole Miss minus 125. Alabama at plus 100 is going to be really interesting. And then LSU plus 125. You've got Tennessee plus 195. And you go so on and so forth from there. So I think both sides. You got Georgia, Texas are a lock for the SEC. You got Ohio State, Oregon are a lock for the Big Ten. But it's going to be some of those 3rd, 4th teams. What kind of teams are we going to see from them this season? Are we going to see national championship, SEC, Big Ten potential contenders, or are we going to see kind of sleepers that get stuck with some of those teams that we don't expect to do well in the conference, kind of, catch them sleeping in those trap games? It's going to be really interesting to see. When you look at the Heisman odds, the odds-on favorite, Dylan Gabriel at plus 700, followed by Carson Fleck plus 750, and Quinn Ewers plus 1,000. All 3 of those quarterbacks, it's been 2 years in a row where we've seen a transfer quarterback win the Heisman. In terms of transfer quarterbacks that are up for the Heisman right now, Dylan Gabriel, obviously he's the favorite. He's going to be in a lot of big-time games. Oregon's going to be a big-time brand. Big Ten's going to be on CBS this year. That all plays into him being the favorite there. Quinn Ewers, I like, plus 1,000. Another quarterback that's going to be in big-time games, going on the road at the big house, having Alabama, having Georgia on your schedule. Not Alabama on your schedule, sorry, Georgia on your schedule. It's going to be another Heisman Trophy winner potential there, looking at that from that standpoint. But again, college football, it's the greatest. We love it. So much parity, and I think college football only continues to grow and grow every single year. And if you want to place a sports bet or a future that you believe in, and maybe I persuade you to bet on, come out here to the CAZ Sportsbook and Sports Bar and go in and place that bet. Just looking through my notes real quick, making sure we covered everything for the Big Ten. Lastly, two teams to look out for, Iowa and USC, ranked 4th and 5th in the conference, 5th and 6th, in the conference after Penn State and Michigan. USC and Lincoln Riley, young team. I like Miller Moss. I like Zach Branch. It's a defense, again, like LSU. I got to see it to believe it. Not high on USC. And then the other side for Iowa, new offensive coordinator for Iowa, Cade McNamara coming back into an offense where he was from Michigan, had a whole year learning the playbook with the new offensive coordinator. If they can have some offense with that great of a defense in Iowa, look out for them to potentially contend and make some noise in the Big Ten. And them being that other team that makes the playoff, they're 8.5 wins. I don't see it. But you just hope some of those mid-tier, lower-tier teams in the Big Ten can kind of step up, the Nebraskas of the world, the Wisconsins of the world, to kind of make the Big Ten SEC gap shrink a little bit in terms of them in college football this season. A lot of parity. We'll continue to talk college football 3 Saturdays away, folks, from college football being on our televisions, us waking up to College Game Day. And you want to come out here and place your sports bets at the CAZ Sportsbook before it's too late. Coming up next, Casey Walsh from the Sportsbook will join me to talk preseason NFL football and college football futures. That's coming up. Sports 910.
Take the points. Powered by the Sportsbook at CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona continues next on Fox Sports 910 and the free iHeartRadio app.
Win your way to our 2024 iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One. September 20th and 21st.
T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
Starting Monday, listen for your chance to be there.
Sponsored by Redbird Farms Chicken. Turn up the flavor with Redbird Farms Chicken. Available at your local grocer. Our chicken is juicy, tender, and delicious. Just like the iHeartRadio Music Festival, our chicken hits all the right notes and brings people together. Redbird Farms Chicken. What real chicken tastes like.
There's something that binds us all. The constant hunger to improve. The obsession with every detail. And the reward of a custom fitting taking your game to a whole new level. We're all bound by 2 words said by golfers worldwide. Schedule your fitting at Vans Golf Shops. Find your local store at worldwidegolf.com. Get there.
Hey, it's Dom with Venezia's Pizzeria. You know us for delicious family dinners and huge party pizzas. But did you know we are great at feeding a large group too? Our full catering menu has a ton of variety, so everyone will find something they love. And the best part? We don't charge per head. Just tell us how many people you need to feed, and we'll handle the rest. Check out our catering menu at Venezias.com. That's Venezias.com. Venezias, a family and catering tradition.
What's up, guys? Jason Payne, owner of State 48 Roofing. Monsoon season is here, which means my team and I are ready to serve you and your family. Go to state48roofing.com, scan the QR code below. We'll see you up on your roof.
Over the years, Lerner Rowe has helped over 150,000 injured people recover billions of dollars for
Jackson.
And over $1 billion in the last 5 years alone. What does that mean to you when you're looking for an attorney to handle your personal injury case? That means that Lerner Rowe is a law firm that not only has experience, but the proven results to recover money for your injuries. The insurance companies know which attorneys won't put up a fight. When you call us, we call them, and they know they have to pay.
Lerner and Rowe is the way to go. Call 977-1900.
Get ready for double the fun on the 101. Introducing the Salt River Rewards Program at Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort, the Valley's newest and best. With multiple tiers and endless benefits, we've got something for everyone. Don't miss out on the excitement. Salt River Rewards, the Valley's premier player rewards program, now at Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort. 2 properties, 1 amazing club, offering limitless fun on the 101. Discover the best in the Valley at saltriverrewards.com.
Attention drivers, your safety matters. All City Towing, Arizona's largest towing storage services contractor, proudly sponsors the Move Over Law. When you see flashing lights, remember to move over and slow down. Together, we can protect our roadside heroes. Drive safe, Arizona. Sponsored by All City Towing.
Are you struggling with low testosterone? Metier Clinical Services has you covered. Get a 1-month supply for just $250, including your initial labs and pre-filled syringes. Visit Metier Clinical Services today and pick up your boost. No hassle, just results. Call or stop by to learn more at 602-835-2675 or visit metierclinicalservices.com. Metier Clinical Services, your solution for a healthier you starts here. Consult your healthcare provider before starting any new treatment.
Hey, sports fans, celebrate every big game with El Bandito Yankee, an ultra-premium tequila made from 100% blue Weber agave in the highlands of Jalisco. Their certified additive-free Blanco and Reposado feature a unique oxygenation process for a rich smoothness without that tequila burn. That's why they've won platinum and gold medals and are now listed as one of the world's top tequilas by Rolling Stone. Head over to your local store, favorite bar, or restaurant and enjoy. Go to elbanditoyankee.com and break out the Bandito with the official tequila of game day.
With Progressive Insurance, we make it easy to save money. When you bundle your auto policy with home, condo, or renters, you will earn a multi-policy discount. Easy to bundle, easy to save. Visit progressive.com.
When you buy Kroger brand products, you feel like you're winning. That's because they offer proven quality at lower than low prices. In fact, we guarantee that you and your family will love how Kroger brand products taste, or you get your money back. So next time you're shopping for the family, look for delicious Kroger brand products, because they'll make you all feel like you're winning. Shop now, in-store, or online. Fries, fresh for everyone.
Time for the best bets, locks, and daily wager picks, courtesy of the CAZ Sportsbook in Casino, Arizona. Now joining the guys is CAZ Sportsbook expert Casey Walsh from Boston, exclusively on Fox Sports 910.
Anything possible! The best open in radio. Casey Walsh joining me from the CAZ Sportsbook in Casino, Arizona. How you doing, my friend? Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Doing good. 3 more weeks. 3 more weeks.
3 more weeks till college football. We got preseason right now. We were talking over during the break or whatever about what happened for the Hall of Fame game, them ending the game earlier. Talk about what it was like here at the CAZ Sportsbook when the game was canceled. What did you guys have to do? What bets did you accept? Kind of talk about the listeners. If that scenario were to happen again, what would happen?
Yeah, so realistically, with the game not going the full 55 minutes as most sportsbooks will have in their house rules, all bets should be a void because it has to go 55 minutes. On that game, we voided out all the sides. We did, however, pay out on the total, on the over. So if you did bet over and you still have that ticket and you're thinking it's a void, bring it on down. We're cashing that out, make you whole there as a winner. If you have any of the unders, we'll void those one outs, as realistically nothing on the game should have counted, even though the game was over the total.
If you were a Houston better, if you were under better, I think that might have been the best situation, a little mulligan there for those type of bettors to have that game be delayed. But I'm looking at the lines right now. Arizona Cardinals line already out there for the Saints game a week from today. They're a 1-point favorite, minus 120 money line. Saints plus 100, and the over-under totals at 37.5. What action have you already gotten? Because I know people in here are fiending for football to come back to bet on. Have you gotten much action on the Saints-Cardinals game?
Not yet. I mean, we had a little bit come in on the under. A lot of people tend to bet the totals in the preseason.
Yeah.
If you go through all the totals, you can see none of them are very high. Highest, I think, is that Cardinals game. That's at the 37.5. Opened at 39. But, yeah, you'll have people in here closer to the game time when they find out who's playing. in the games, how many series is. We'll start to see more wagers come in on that.
So college football, too, we mentioned 3 Saturdays away. I'm looking right now at some win totals here locally in the Valley. Arizona over-under totals at 7.5 wins. Seems a little low to me. And then Arizona State, 4.5 wins. Have you seen much action on those two? And then you, too, as a sports gambler yourself, when you look at some of those win totals or win totals in general, even the Arizona State, what are your thoughts about those two?
Yeah, I think so far, us as a sportsbook, we've taken more under action. Not many people are high on the Sun Devils. I think same with Arizona. Some people aren't as high with Jed Fish going up there to Washington. So I haven't really seen anybody leaning over on either one of them teams.
Are there any week 1 action, any futures or conference winners? Like, is there any college football bets that you regularly see here at the sportsbook that you've seen? Or not?
Mostly a lot of Oregon and Ohio State national championship winners. We've seen a little bit of Georgia come in, but mostly it's been Oregon at around, I want to say, plus 800. I think we have them at. I'm seeing some action on that there.
Right on. Week 1, week 0, almost coming up here. Ohio State plus 400, Oregon plus 650. And I was talking about that too. Oregon's, I think personally, I think Oregon's going to win the Big Ten. I like what they did at quarterback and what they brought back and what they've done in the transfer portal. I'm not a big Will Howard guy, man, with Ohio State. I'm just curious, what are your thoughts about from a sports betting perspective and what you've seen? I know it's early. I know college football is 3 weeks away, trying to dive into it early. In terms of national championship, how do you look at both of those teams?
Yeah, for sure. I think Oregon's very good. I think they're going to be better than people think. Ohio State, I mean, roster talent-wise level, they say they're the best team in college football probably in years. Same thing, Will Howard. I'm not really that sure they're coming from K-State. It'll be interesting for sure. I mean, they're not a big, huge dark horse, but I do like Texas. I like Sarkisian as a coach, and I think Quinn Ewers should have a solid year for them.
Dog days of summer, not a whole lot going on. Is there anything else in the sports book that you guys been seeing a lot? Has there been a lot of baseball bets? And I mean, this is the awkward part in sports betting where it's like people are so eager for football. You bet on preseason football. There's obviously Olympics and there's MLB going on. Anything else that really sparks the eye that you've been seeing here at the CAZ Sportsbook?
Over the course this week, I mean, you had a couple of the NBA games actually didn't cover either spread against Puerto Rico or South Sudan. We actually had people betting against the U.S. there, taking the large amount of points in those games. But we had golf this week. We've had people betting on the golf, the Olympic golf matchups, the overall winner for that tournament as well. A lot of Scotty Scheffler money, but also taking Xander money, a little bit of John Rahm. We have one guy that always comes in, bets everybody that golfs in the live, so he's all over Rahm this week.
I wish the time zone difference was different, man. I wish it was on U.S. time, which in 40 years when it's in L.A., it's going to be different. But I'm real fascinated to see how these Olympics end up. That leaderboard looks phenomenal. You mentioned Xander. I mean, for Xander to win the U.S. Open, for him to win the PGA Championship, the Open, and then win a gold medal. I mean, I know Scotty Scheffler gets all the praise at one, but I mean, Xander Schauffele is a solidified number 2. Maybe can even contend for that number 1. He's phenomenal, man.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody's talking Scotty shoe-in for player of the year. I mean, Xander should be in the conversation. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I 2 majors and then this.
So matchups too. Can you bet on matchups in terms of the Olympics in the last round, or does that kind of cancel out? You just only bet on win only?
Yeah, no, we'll have a couple of matchups up. They'll be up probably in a couple hours, seeing as it starts at midnight our time. But the other one that'll be interesting will be Tommy Fleetwood, seeing as he's won there before. So should be an exciting last day.
Exciting last day. Tee times are 2 a.m., 3 a.m. if you want to wake up early and watch those. I don't think the sportsbook will be open at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. What time do you guys open up tomorrow?
We'll be open 8 a.m. Till 11 p.m. every night. So if we're not open, you got the kiosk 24/7. You can get any of those bets in as well.
Casey Walsh will take care of you as always. Appreciate you coming on the show. That's a wrap. Take the points. Fox Sports 910, another great show. We talked NFL. Zaven Collins got an extension today. B.J. Ojolari's injury. We also talked Big Ten, SEC preview, both football perspective and a sports betting perspective as well. But for Casey Walsh, for Ben Garcia, who's on his way to the red-white game right now, I'm Jackson Groff. We'll see you next Saturday right here, CAZ Sportsbook and Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona.